You're listening to an Anazao Ministries podcast.
Do you solve your problems with 2 lightsabers in hand or 1 lightsaber and a blaster? How was the final Guardians film? How do we look at entertainment in light of Romans? What is Disney's obsession with releasing live-action films of their animated products? What would you do if you found yourself trapped in a town where every night you would die if you went outside? We're going to be answering these questions today and more on our episode of What's New for Systematic Ecology. We are the Priests of the Geeks. I'm your host, Christian Ashley. I am joined today by my co-conspirator, my co-revolutionary, in our never-ending quest to take down Joshua, Elizabeth Peng Clyde. How are you doing, Peng?
Death to Joshua. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Excellent. And we are also joined by a very special guest host, and that, of course, being Pablo. Pablo, would you like to introduce yourself to the good people?
Yeah. My name is Pablo. I'm the executive director and outreach pastor at a local nonprofit here in San Diego called Tri-City Pantry, and also a fellow nerf herder, geek, nerd, aficionado. You added on. I'm it. I love all things.
Perfection. All right, guys, as we always do for these What's New episodes, we're going to start with a bit of a lightning round and actually get things done correctly this time around. We had some audio issues earlier, a little glitching out. This time it's going to be done successfully and perfectly, and not because of Joshua's editing. Never because of that, but because we are all professionals here. And I'm going to start, of course, with my first topic for the lightning round, which would be Gundam, the Witch from Mercury. Like I had said before the recording kind of messed up, I am really loving this show as it keeps going on. We just had a major upheaval in how the cast is being handled. Poor Suletta just got betrayed and abandoned, and my boy Bob Guel Jet Turk has gotten everything he's ever wanted, and it's all very hollow. And I love it when a character can get to that stage like, I used to want these things, and now I want anything else but them. But this is the reality I have to live in. So Peng, what else have you been geeking out on as far as your lightning round stuff goes?
I have been geeking out over Demon Slayer, of course. We're 6 episodes in. It's the shortest 23 minutes of my whole entire week. I don't understand how 5 minutes is 23 minutes, but that's what the episode is. Animation is beautiful. Characters you love. Edge of the seat every time. It's one of the highlights of my weeks, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And a special shout out to Pastor Will Rose, who for the first time in his life saw a bit of Demon Slayer. We went to our little, I think it was Baxter's Barcade is the location we went to while we were all in Chapel Hill for the convention. That was a ton of fun hanging out there. You actually also got to see his first episode of One Piece, too, while we were there. I forgot to mention that last time.
Which episode?
Oh, it was a filler episode before Water 7. I'm fairly certain. So a little unfortunate in that regard, but you know what? It works. Pablo, anything for you?
Right now, we're just going back to my childhood with my kids. So we're watching Transformers in the 1980s. She's really into the new age, and I had to show her what the real Transformers look like and sound like. So we've been swallowing up every season. We've been doing G.I. Joe, and man, I'm probably older than you guys because you guys don't recognize my shows. But I would say, Five Nights at Freddy is something that my kids are really interested in. So every time they're interested in something, I'm going to check it out just to be a part of their lives. So we're looking forward to that, and also that amazing animation and anime of Fast and Furious. That's what I consider it. I don't consider it an action movie. I consider it more of a animation, because it's just feats of But yeah, that's what we've been at. Nothing new. We're taking back some time.
Perfect. How many kids do you have?
We have 2. A son that's 17 and a daughter that's 9. And my daughter's a geek like me. So, we're into the whole thing, man.
But you said a son that was 17?
Yeah, 17. Yeah, he's 17.
You look fantastic.
I know. Thank you. It's all the beauty products and all the Star Wars I consume. It doesn't die down. I mean, the more Star Wars you watch,
the Force is keeping you young.
Yeah, the Force is with me. I am with the Force. So it's just, it is what it is at this point. I'm proud of it. I'm proud to wear it.
Perfect. All right, my last thing for the lightning round would be the latest bits of episodes we've got from Vinland Saga. Once again, I'm really hyped about this show. It keeps getting better as things are coming to a head. We've got essentially 3 different factions at work right now over this one tiny farm in I think it's Denmark we're in right now. I'd have to relook that up. But we got King Canute. We've got Kettle and his workers at the farm, his delusions of power and grandeur, and we've got poor Thorfinn and his gang just trying to survive all this. Ah, man, Vinland Saga just keeps getting better. After the season ends, I'm going to have to just catch up with the manga. I just can't wait anymore. It's just that good. So, Peng, anything else for you?
Yeah, just speaking of keeping up with the manga, I also started watching. It just sounds so. It's one of those things. I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Let me try it. Why Relania ended up at the Duke's mansion, and it's about like it's about 6 episodes, and I could not wait. I just started reading like the webtoon of it, and it is one of the most romantic heartthrobs ever, and it just makes me, I say, blush like a little anime schoolgirl, and that's how you know it's real good.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's great. It's one of those reincarnation animes, and I usually don't like those. But
Yeah.
this is done with like an interesting twist to it. And so I honestly put it on because I needed an English dub anime to go in the background while I did dishes, like a good housewife I am. Just kidding. I know my place. I just love jabbing at those, at that. But yeah, and I was hooked, and I literally stopped doing dishes and put first things first and watched all 6 episodes in like one setting.
All right. Well, if we have nothing else we want to add, let's go ahead and get into the meat and the discussion. The main topics. And of course, number one being, for me, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which I am just about to finish. I know what happens because I read spoilers and I don't care about that. But this game has been so much fun. To those who don't know what it is, I mean, if you don't know what Star Wars is, I'm sorry. There's only so much God can do to help you. But like, Jedi Survivor is the sequel to Fallen Order, where you play Cal Kestis, a Jedi who survived Order 66. And through that, you end up finding a crew, you end up fighting against the Empire, and you find yourself in, Jedi Survivor 5 years later, and the fallout of all that, and the people you lost along the way, and trying to struggle in the midst of the Empire's height, trying to take them down in this hopeless war. And you get a chance here, this chance of potentially finding this one planet away from everything else, where the Empire can't reach you. And that's where the story takes place as you unearth some secrets of the past. It kind of ties into the High Republic novels they're doing as well. I'm not as big into that stuff on that side of thing, but yeah, that is what it is. But as far as the game itself, I'm having a ton of fun. You keep your force powers from the beginning. This is the anti-Kingdom Hearts. Like, you just come in, you keep your abilities, you are awesome, you just play awesome. It's a ton of fun. Check it out if you don't know. But actually, one of the things that is prominent in this game is Cal kind of, isolating himself to an extent to avoid being hurt by some of the stuff that happened before from people that left him, to do and pursue other things. Like, let me ask my co-hosts here, like, this theme of isolation, like, is isolation ever a good thing?
It depends, because I need my me time. But like isolation, I feel like is without connection at all. So I'm going to say no for me.
Okay. Pablo?
Well, we're not meant to do life alone. I don't think we were designed that way. From the beginning, God, gave us an opportunity to name all the animals, through Adam, and he still didn't find a perfect partner. And then he found a perfect partner and a suitable partner in Eve. And then he had to multiply. So from that, I think isolation is bad. Having time to yourself, by yourself, is a good thing. Time to meditate, a time to regroup and recharge batteries. So that's what I would say is isolation is not good, especially if you're going through some trials and tribulations. You need the power of those who pave the road, those who are paving the road, to correlate. So yeah, I don't think it's something that you should opt to. Sometimes we find ourselves in that situation, and the reminder is that God is always with us. That's a promise, an infallible promise of God in one of those character traits. So you're never truly alone, but you should never isolate, because that's how the hyenas hunt. That's how the lions hunt, is they wait for that one that is like, oh, doo-doo-doo, over there by themselves. All of a sudden they're a steak on a plate. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a great way of putting that. There's some nuance here. I think we kind of hit on it a little bit, is that there are times you could be isolated by choice. Like, there's times I need to get away to recharge. As an introvert, being around people just drains me. It's not their fault that happens. It's just how I'm wired. So I need some time to just get away, play a game or read a book or what have you. And then I can come back into those social situations and be recharged. Now, if that's all I do is I just stay away, there's a massive problem because, like you mentioned, we are social creatures. God made us to interact with one another. We can't just ignore other people. And that's one of the things the game kind of hits on is like, hey, you want to get away from all this pain. You want to get away from all these people. You can't do that. It's not good for you. So I would say, like, even though we do see positive portrayals of isolation in scripture, like we see Jesus when he wants to go pray, he goes off alone by himself so that he can focus on things, get in touch with God that way. But he doesn't stay there. So yeah, with that all in mind, that's one of the aspects of the game is that kind of theme of removing yourself from things to avoid getting hurt. But I have another question, especially I know Pang, this unfortunately doesn't qualify for you that much as a question. I know your Star Wars media fanship is very small, but you guys did miss out on our watch party that we did on Discord. Pang joined me for that. That was a delight. But Pablo, it seems like you really into Star Wars, so you know a little bit about the lore and stuff. Do you think that too many Jedi survived Order 66?
Man, that's a good question. I think in order for I'm a novel guy, so I read some of the novels.
Yep.
So I got into Star Wars on the second release. That was the like the 85, 86. I'm sorry, the 90s when it was remade. And it added a couple minutes. So after that, I started getting into the novel. So I think that there's always that because usually it's a biblical reflection of what's going on. So yeah, I think that there was not a handful of them. Usually is that section there like, hey, we got to scatter, you know. So I don't think it's a good thing, but I do think it's a good thing. So I think it's a bad thing because the ones who survive or for lack of a word, the cowardly kind of ran away. So that's what I'm concerned about, how that's going to be handled. But yeah, I believe some of them survive on an instinct, you know, like on a get away, let's get out of here instinct.
So like one of the reasons I bring this up is that it's kind of one of those complaints kind of levied against old Legends canon, which is my favorite canon. And even as the newer canon expands on itself, which sometimes I really like, sometimes I really don't. It's that idea of Order 66 was supposed to be this thing that brought the Jedi to their knees. The only two Jedi we see in the original series, of course, being Obi-Wan and Yoda. So it's like, two survivors, that kind of makes sense. But like, oh, then suddenly there's a new one. Suddenly there's a new one. Suddenly there's a new one. And time goes on. Like, I get that criticism. I also realized that the Jedi Order was several thousand strong. So the fact that it's possible a lot of people could have made it out, I'm okay with that. And it's something that's brought up in the game too. It's like the Jedi to survive, what are they doing with their lives? So I would say, as far as the game itself is concerned, I'd play the first one first, then get into this one. This is about a 9.95 for me so far. We'll see how things go as I actually finish the game, but I'm really enjoying it. So our next topic was actually going to be one of Pang's, but she unfortunately did not have the time to actually watch Guardians Volume 3. But
my husband didn't take me on a date like I asked.
Of course. That terrible man.
It's always our
I'm just
fault.
kidding.
It's always our fault.
It's always like he's like, you never take ownership. It's always my fault. Yes. What more do you want?
We admit it.
I'm glad you get it.
On behalf of all husbands, it's our fault.
It is. Thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna play this for my husband whenever Josh edits.
Yeah, just let's just do the whole political thing. Let's roll up the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize. Yes, for that too.
Thank you, Pablo. That was a lot of healing for me just now. Wow.
Yes, you're still not gonna get to see it, but yeah.
Maybe this weekend.
All right.
There you go. So, have you seen the movie, Pablo?
Yes, I have. A couple times.
Okay. So
couple times.
Okay, couple times. I watched it the other day.
Yeah. So,
what are your initial feelings?
I have this advice for all my friends. I said I don't have money to make a movie, so I take every movie for what it is because I don't have the mental capability to write a script. So I appreciate the art behind it. This was one of the first movies that I actually teared up a little bit in the not even the death of Iron Man. It was already foreseen, or there was a lot of indications that would happen, especially with the contracts that Robert Downey Jr. was doing. But this time, man, it got to me. Rocket screaming his heart out, losing his friends. This guy that James Gunn was directing these movies is a geek, so he understands.
Yep.
He doesn't take us for a wild ride, like expecting us to just consume it. So I think it was an amazing movie, well done. Again, I don't have deep pockets to come up with a better movie, and if I did, I'll be like, all right, let's make a better one. But Adam
Yeah,
Warlock was disappointing. I think the casting was amazing. I just
I'll second that.
yeah, I would say, man, that dude is such a powerful character in the comic books. He should have been
Hmm.
in Infinity War. I think
Yes.
that was one of the pivotal characters in the comic books. So for us to read it, we see that. For those who didn't, they're like, hey, without it, with it, it's fine. But it was just one of those things that if I had an opportunity to talk to them, be like, hey, who do you recommend? I think Adam Warlock. I don't like that they do that to certain characters, these
Hmm.
powerful characters, and then they minimize them to, a back cover character, Adam Warlock's so powerful, but yeah,
Yeah.
those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I'll second a lot of that. I think I teared up around the same scene you're talking about there, with all this pain that Rocket has been keeping inside of himself. Like, we knew there was something there, but to actually see it on screen is a different matter. And that's why, Joshua, ambiguity is never as good as the literal.
Yeah, Josh. I don't even know what they're talking about, but yeah.
Oh my
Poor
gosh.
Josh.
Yeah. It's always an amazing thing. Peng and I feed off of each other really well when it comes to yes-anding each other. That's a lot of fun. But when it comes to making fun of Joshua, we do the exact same thing. So, like, it heightens it. Now we've got this third party here who has no context for anything we're talking about, but has already joined our side. It feels like. So I'm really enjoying that. So shout out to Joshua for all the good that he does. But
We love you, Josh.
yes,
Kind of.
we do.
We love you with the love of Christ.
There you go.
Biblical love for him,
Amen.
not secular love.
So yeah, so as far as the film itself is concerned, I thought we were going to lose more than we did, character wise. And at first, I was like, I don't know how I feel. It's like, nope, this was a good send off to everyone on that team, in my opinion. Like I said, I agree. Adam Warlock should have been utilized a little more, not only in this film but before. But that reality is what reality is here. So can't really complain too much about that.
So is that going to be a volume 4? Or like you
Uh,
think this was like the ending, like the wrap up?
As far as James Gunn is concerned, yes. As far as certain characters, the potential to return, they're definitely coming back.
Gotcha.
And in fact, I know one for sure is, based on some of the last words we see on screen.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I think you'll enjoy it, Pang. You have anything else you want to add to this, Pablo?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched it, do take some tissue. There's a couple scenes that drive you a little crazy and helps you understand the background, especially, Rocket's background. That was amazing they did that. I think, not many people wanted to explore that, and I was just really grateful that they did. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yes. And I do need to have a special shout out as I'm looking up the actor's name in real time. Whoever played the High Evolutionary did a phenomenal job on one of the pinnacles of the character in the comics as a great villain. And I'm going to butcher his name, and I apologize. Chukwudi Iwuji. And I'm fairly certain that is not even close to being true. But shout out to you, man. That is one of the best villain performances I've seen in the MCU. And I really enjoyed that. So as far as ratings for this movie goes, I'll probably give it a 9.
I would rate
And
there. I
probably
think that's
typically
good.
do like a 1 to 10 scale. So feel free to do whatever you want
I
if
think
you
a
want to
9 is,
rate.
yeah, no, I think it's a pretty good 9. It's a good, solid movie. It's not an entirely family
Okay.
movie. I wouldn't take my daughter to watch it. She'll be scared of some of the scenes, but yeah, it was pretty good.
Then with that in mind, Pang, the Little Mermaid trailer released not too far ago. What are your feelings on it?
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I just wish that Ariel's hair was a little bit more red, but I have been told I don't see the color red very well, so maybe it's just me. So let me know if it's just me and the hair is fine. Like, that's just like the most minuscule thing I can nitpick. Another thing that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I am a fan, but I'm not, but I am, but I'm not, but I am. If
Yes.
that makes sense. They took out the song Kiss the Girl because they want to show more like independence for women and whatnot. Like, they were being very careful of the Me Too movement, which is a very important like movement that needs to be talked about. Like, I'm not undermining that movement
Yes.
whatsoever. But it's just one of those things. I saw a comedian say it best on a TikTok, because TikTok is where I get my news. It's not, but jokes. The same winter that they canceled, what's it called, the Baby It's Cold Outside,
Yes.
and he was reading the lyrics, was the same winter where the #1 chart was like this super explicit like sex song pretty much.
Yes.
And so we're like canceling this song over here because it is endowindering, like come stay a little longer, you don't have a choice, even though I think it's romantic banter, me personally. But then we're talking about like literally all the vulgar things over there and like witches and blah blah blah. And I'm like, so have we lost our minds of what fights to fight? I don't know. That's a whole nother topic.
Yes.
Point is, freaking kiss the girl. Everyone watches it. Like I said, I watched it so much growing on, and like you just want them to kiss. Like you're a little girl and you're just kind of like geeking out in your little heart, and you just want them to kiss. But then they take it out because you gotta give them verbal permission. It's called body language. That's what Ursula said. It's body language.
Yes.
It's that's a fun notion, and granted, yes, like the movement is big, but I just feel like I'm like, why are we choosing that agenda to play?
Yes.
But it is what it is. Like once again, Disney's going to do great. It's probably going to be a great movie. I just wish they would have stuck with the heart. Like Ariel literally fell in love with Eric, so she is fighting tooth and nail to go to the surface to make a deal with the devil, pretty much, and they are making it more of she wants to go to the surface for herself versus a man. And I get it. You don't need a man. You're a strong, independent fish. I get that. But, it's just tomatoes. I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm very excited to watch it, but we'll see.
So, once again, in this stellar episode of No Problems Whatsoever, we've encountered our 50th problem. And a part of that is I think my internet's going out. I think Pablo's internet is going out. And we have lost Pablo as a result of all that. I'm waiting to get back in contact with him. So we're just going to keep recording for now on, see what happens. So I apologize for the jankiness of this entire thing, but I will go ahead and respond to what Peng was saying before we were rudely interrupted by this terrible internet issue we're having. And I'll say that I agree with a lot of your points. As far as that song, like I get why people are upset, especially in light of the Me Too movement. Like there's a huge issue in Hollywood and across the world, if we're being honest about it, of consent and of being safe in relationships, being open in relationships, to care about one another, not have one person above the other, letting only them get what they desire, or men taking advantage of women to get what they want and treat them like trash and get whatever they desire instead of actually treating them like human beings. I don't think kiss the girl is where you need to draw your line. I mean,
kiss her.
Yeah. I mean, can we not talk about the fact that Ursula is, if they're following the original story, going to essentially gain a relationship through lying? And there are some words I could use there to describe what that relationship would be if they actually consummated. So yeah, there's a lot of messed up stuff there. Don't just focus on that one thing. As far as the race lifting goes, I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of it. Like, you go back, Hollywood has done it for years. We got this recent controversy with an African playing Cleopatra in the documentary instead of, a Greek Macedonian woman. Like, it would have been a very inbred, I might add, Greek Macedonian woman in a time where Egypt had a very different racial structure than Africa exists now. Then, of course,
but even in the thing, the king, she has like a sister who is of color, and like they're all different races in the 90s movie. So I even feel like her being African American is not a stretch. I'm pretty sure the dad is still white too. So
from the trailer I saw, he did look it, but it was very dark, which was another criticism I saw. So it's very hard to tell. So, in light of all that, like, there are better battles to fight, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. Like the literally hashtag not my Ariel. I'm like, really, guys? I'm just concerned with Disney because one thing I did look, and I understand she's a fish, but her face be looking a little too fish-eyed. You know what I mean? Like with. So I was like, that looks weird, but it could be the graphics they were going with. But after watching Avatar: Way of the Water and all those underwater scenes, I feel like The Little Mermaid is going to be underwhelming for me.
Okay.
Like, that's just because Avatar: Way of Water, it was beautiful. So beautiful. Captivated me all 3 hours. So, and then like just a little, like you said, it was dark, the trailer. So I'm curious. Like I'm very excited because it's Disney, and Disney, we're going to ride or die. Like ever. Like we're going to, I'm going to see the mouse again in a few months. Like me and the mouse, we cool. Like
Yeah.
you can do very little for me to hate you, Nikki.
Yeah.
I love you.
When are you going to see the mouse this year?
I'll probably go again. I thought we were gonna go in August, but now that we're doing Universal Studio Japan,
Okay.
that kind of ate my budget a little bit. So we're gonna go see Harry the Japanese. But
That's fine. So I think we're going in September, my family
I'm
and I.
gonna try and go maybe like before the year ends.
Yeah.
So the summer is pretty much booked because sorry, this is off topic, guys.
It's okay.
Want to know this is what's new in my life. I am going to Japan this summer in a couple weeks, and then I'm going to New York. So pretty much Disney keeps on going on the back burner.
So yeah, to get back on topic a little bit. I mean, Ariel is one of my favorite Disney princesses. So, I mean, it's one of those things. She's one of the reasons I have a thing for redheads, alongside Mary Jane Watson and Jessie Bannon. But as far as casting goes, there's not that many redheads out there in existence. So I understand from a casting decision why you would change things. Once again, it's not my favorite thing in the world. At the very end of the day, you could dye someone's hair, whatever. It's an unwinnable fight. And like we brought up before, there are better battles to fight in this world. Like, look, they're doing it for the sake of diversity rather than actually caring about the characters for the most part. I'm sure there are some people who legitimately, when they're changing scripts like this, they actually care to an extent. But the companies themselves, they don't care. They want your money.
And you will have my money, Disney.
Yeah. And as far as live action goes, like, I'm not even the target audience because, like, they never had my money to begin with in this regard. So they don't need to care about what I think because I don't care about live action Disney remakes. I would rather that they were going to do this, do something, do a new cartoon or something to that extent. But you know what? That's their decision. They're the multi-billion-dollar company. I'm not. So that's it. That's where I stand. Anything else you want to add for Little Mermaid?
Nope. I just can't wait to watch it. Be a good time.
Okay. So moving on from there, we're going to go to our final topic of discussion today. And that is From. Peng, have you ever heard of From, the terribly named, really good show that I'm watching right now?
It's named From?
It is named From.
Oh, I thought you just didn't finish your sentence in the outline.
See, that's a natural, idea to have because it is terrible trying to look this show up on the internet because it's like From, well, one of the most commonly used words in the English language.
What platform is this on? From?
It is on, it used to be Epix. I think it's MGM Plus now. Mm-hmm. So given our usual discussions around obtaining things
we do not support
that we want
piracy.
to watch, yes, that may be in use here. I cannot say for sure. But From is one of those series. The first season aired last year, if I remember correctly. And it takes place in this town that essentially what happens is people end up coming there. And it's separated from seemingly the whole of America. It is in its own place. They can't get out of, they can't escape. And if they try and go out, there are these things that come out at night and kill them. They're essentially like this weird kind of vampire, zombie, ghoul things. I actually think they're kind of Draugr, is my guess of what they actually are, because that's one of the mysteries of the show, that they have enough human-like characteristics to talk to people and mess with them in that regard. But yeah, it's a really weird series to describe because it's all about these people. Where did they come from? Why are they here now? Like, who's in charge of this? Is someone in charge? Like, because it doesn't seem like the monsters are the ones in charge. They seem like flunkies to some person we haven't met yet. It's a very fun, wacky series. And one of the things they do that I wanted to bring up in our discussion today is that they can live in houses while these things are out at night. But the only thing that protects them from them are these magical talismans. If they have it struck up on their door, then the things can't get inside and try to kill them. But if there is no such thing in place, they can walk wherever they want to. So I ask you, Peng, say we were both placed in a scenario where the only way we could be safe involved applying a magical item like the talismans in the show. How would you and I wrestle with this as Christians when we see magic used in the Bible as always harmful?
I'm going to do it.
No hesitation.
No,
just going for it.
I mean, because it's not telling me to worship another god. It's like, if I want to survive, use this talisman. Okay, done. Now, if it said declare this talisman is your god and put it up, then I would be like, okay, no, I guess I'm dying. But
Yeah.
if you ain't making me worship another god, I'm like, shoot, let's use it.
Yeah. So one of the things we don't know exactly why they work, and there's a lot of speculation that they may be like Nordic runes, and that'd be one of the reasons why these things might be Draugr from Norse mythology in that extent. So, yeah, I mean, in that situation, like this is provably the only way these things work. Well, I want to investigate that. What is it about them that works, that protects me from these evil creatures out there? Is it actually magic? Is it some form of creative energy that God has left behind, and if you just know how to use it, you can actually access it to protect people or something like that? Is it actually magic, or is it something else? Who knows?
Or is it pesticide?
Is it pesticide?
That's what I use for bugs. I don't want them in my house.
So, I mean, it could be a myriad of things. Who knows? But as far as scripture is concerned, and I know Josh and I have actually talked about this on the show before in certain regards. If I remember correctly, it had to do with stuff like horoscopes and crystals and stuff like that. Like, are these things actually harmful? I'm on the camp that says yes. He's on the side that says maybe not. They might just be harmless. So what's your feeling on that matter?
Well, like crystals and energy, like you get a lot of there's health benefits if you soak in a mineral bath. There's health benefits if you put some kind of tea extract in your lotion and stuff like that. So by using what is of the earth that God has gave us dominion over, and you use that for like healing and whatnot, I don't see a problem with it. As long as they're not claiming that this energy is from a different god or a different thing. I mean, like, if it's of the earth, I have dominion over that. Like, scripture already gave me that. So I see no problem with it because it's not going to have a hold.
Okay. Well said. Well spoken.
I have a Bible degree. I'm so tired.
It's okay. So, I mean, as for me, I look at scripture, and when I see magic, I see Jonathan Jambres in Moses' court use it for their own ends, trying to replicate the plagues and failing miserably after a while because they can't replicate what God can. I see the Witch of Endor trying to use necromancy to summon up Samuel's spirit. And there's some debate. Was it actually his spirit? Was it a demon posing as Samuel? Was it an angel posing as him? Blah, blah, blah. We could debate that all day. But the point is, when God says not to do something, I tend to go, okay, let me stay away from that. And it may be a little legalistic of me in that sense. I'm more than willing to hear that side out on how that all works. But I would rather be safe as possible in that regard.
Right. Well, with the Moses thing, they kept on saying like by the power of Ra, and so that's where they claimed that their magic was from. Because you can even argue like Moses used God's miracles, which we call them miracles. We don't call them magic, but by the power of God. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like it's where you get your source from.
Okay. That's a good way of looking at it. And I think you may be conflating the Prince of Egypt with scripture.
I know. But I'm just saying, like that was my thing.
Which,
but it's still the same.
I was just teasing.
But that's one of my favorite, songs to sing along to. I'm glad you called that.
Yes. A great movie.
Playing with the big boys now.
Yes. So keep going. As far as this show is concerned, if you have the opportunity to watch it, I would highly recommend it. There is some very frustrating stuff with people not talking to each other and not planning with each other. It's what I would like to do in a very deadly situation like this. But you know what? Once again, like Pablo mentioned earlier, I'm not the one with the money. I'm not the one who wrote it. So that's how I feel about that. So
every time in life and death situations, people always screw you up. So I can see, I haven't watched it, but I can see both sides. Like, I ain't going to communicate with no one because they're probably going to turn around and kill me. I've thought about Death Day a lot. I've thought about every time, like just recently, my husband and I, we were going on a cruise and we were like, waiting to go through like security and stuff. I pick out people who I would want on my team. Like, just like Lost. I'm like, that's my Hurley. He's going to make me laugh. Like, these people, they have kids. Absolutely not. They will put the kids before the group. This is just like, that's what I do for fun. People watch, I'm like, who's gonna be the fighters? I'm gonna be the strategist because, do that. But that's just how I'm wired.
That makes me think of how things were at the height of the pandemic. And I was joking on Zoom calls with friends of how, if my Raider gang beat their Raider gang in a fight, and I happen to see them, they're about to be, killed for opposing us. The highest compliment I ever gave someone would be, no, spare that one. So that's it for From. I'll give it like an 8.5 out of 10 as far as everything else is concerned. So yeah, that's it for that. So a very disjointed episode today of What's New. So if you stuck with us this whole time, thank you for your patience. Thanks you for all you do. Immensely frustrating. Hate to lose a guest that way. Hate for anything to happen this way, but that's just how the dice roll sometimes. So guys, go ahead and check out our website at systematicecology.org, to see all the other things we have on there. You have our host. You want to check us up, see Pang and I in other episodes. You want to see, the poor Joshua, he made fun of this whole time. Anyone else, you can suggest future episode topics to us. Joshua just put another one we just got into the schedule for later on. So your choices do matter about what we cover. So keep that in mind. Also as well, check out our Discord, our YouTube, our Patreon, all that stuff to help us out with the show, help garner more interest into it. And remember, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
This was an Anazao Ministries podcast. If you enjoyed this show and would like to learn more about our network, be sure to check out the Anazao Ministries podcast network.